Welcome back to Open House with Mark Siwiec and Corey James Moran, a Greater Rochester real estate podcast. This is episode 127 and the first of 2024. Mark, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, bud.
How was your New Year's Eve?
Very quiet.
You didn't make it to midnight?
Oh, God, no. Why would I? Am I supposed to do that? Did you make it to midnight?
We got closer than I expected, to be honest.
Even with the kids?
The kids went down at, 8:30. Like, well, let's watch a movie. And we ended up watching a movie, and we actually ended up finishing the movie.
What movie?
Instead of falling asleep. It was called Long Shot. It's on Netflix. Rom-com. Had Seth Rogen in it.
Okay, you can stop.
Okay, yeah. Definitely not your cup of tea. But it was entertaining enough. So it was nice and quiet as well. Finally, our evenings aligned. Did the same thing.
Isn't that great?
Well, we got a lot to discuss in the podcast today. Again, now that it is the new year, we thought it made sense that we were going to talk about some of the expectations that we have for 2024. And they could all be totally wrong. I mean, based on what happened last year, it's very possible. Yeah. But based on everything we're seeing right now, based on all of the indicators that are out there, these are the most likely things that will happen. I can't wait to replay this in another year and say, no, we missed that, and that. We also have, I would say, a pretty major announcement at the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
So you got to stick around for that. Whatever you do, don't go forward in the episode. I know you can with the technology. This stuff is good, but we'll get our market update first.
All right, great. Go for it.
Slow, as you can expect, in terms of listings that are out there. Monroe County, we're at 271. We dropped from 297. 6 county regions at 557. That's down from 605. What's under contract and pending, those numbers down as well. It was 772 last week. We're down to 715 this week. And then for the 6 county region, still 1,198 properties that need to still close that have had offers accepted.
Yeah.
Last week, down to 1,112 this week.
Okay.
And then interest rates still kind of doing the same thing. We've seen them wobble up and down a little bit. It was 6.67 for the 30-year. Last week, we're at 6.70 now. It was a little bit higher, actually, a couple days ago. It's come down a little bit. For the 15-year, 6.04. That one actually did come down to 6.02%, almost in the fives for the 15-year, which is exciting news.
Yeah, and we're going to get there. I think we're going to get there. There's just those last few weeks of the year, there's not a lot of upward or downward movement in terms of interest rates.
Sure.
Yeah, people really are just focused on the holidays.
Yeah, but this week it'll begin. The jobs report comes out on Friday.
Jobs report, yes. There are some job numbers that were released earlier. I'm not quite sure. We're just concluding what was a 3-hour meeting with the team.
I should probably mention that.
Yeah. So it was a year that was, and job forecast and review for the year to come. So I don't have a lot of last minute, but there was something that was related to jobs, I think, earlier today.
Okay.
So,
and then the CPI is next week.
Yeah, CPI is next week.
So that'll all be important stuff. By the way, I'm missing some important details. We're broadcasting from a new spot.
Yeah. And
you mentioned the meeting, so I guess we should touch on this.
I would venture to guess that there's probably a little bit of an echo.
It could be. We'll see. We'll see how good the mics are.
Yeah, right.
We're going to test them.
But we are definitely in a larger, more cavernous room than we are traditionally used to recording in.
Yeah, the Canandaigua room of the lake house on Canandaigua. We actually have a view of it right now.
Yeah.
Even though the shades are down, but that's fine. All right. Well, in our meeting that we just had, again, 3 hours, a little more than 3 hours, we talked about 2023.
Yes.
And getting geared up for 2024. That's what we're doing on the podcast today. Getting geared up for 2024 and what our expectations are. So similar to last week where we kind of broke down the headlines of 2023, these are the expected headlines for 2024.
Well, before you dive in, I just have to say thank you.
Oh, okay.
And the reason for that is because I got a client who's listening with us in 2 weeks. He's like, this podcast, they're really, really, really great. Like, Corey just sets it up for you, doesn't he?
How'd they sniff that out?
And he was like, the both of you are great, but he does all the way. I was like, yeah.
Listen, there's a dynamic at play. There's the driver who sets everything up, and then there's the reactor who comes in.
Yeah.
Adds the color.
I'll do my best.
You're an artist, absolute artist.
There we go.
All right, so I think this is the headline or the expectation for 2024 that I'm most confident in, and that is the expectation with inventory will still be low. I don't foresee, as much as I would love, trust me, this is not something I want to happen.
Yeah.
As much as I would love there to be a massive jump in the number of listings, just based on what's been happening, it seems very unlikely. But there is a bit of a silver lining with this one. Our hope is that we've hit rock bottom and we'll begin to now come up a little bit. Because what's the number? 60% less listings over the course of 4 years.
Yes.
So this goes one of two ways. It either keeps going down or it starts to come back up a little bit.
No, I generally think that the end of November is when it is that we started to turn the corner on the real estate recession that we've been suffering through for the past couple of years. So I do sense, last week alone, I went on 5 listing appointments.
That's insane. Well, we did the breakdown in the meeting today, just for the month of December, over the past, was it 3 years that Molly pulled?
Yep.
And it was like 3 1 year, 0 1 year.
In the month of December.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then how many this month?
10. Which again, you putting this into context, April, May, June. If I go on 10 listing appointments for an entire, April, May, June.
You're terrified.
Yes, that's terrible. But if history is any indicator, having gone on 1 or 2 listing appointments 2 years ago, having gone on 3 listing appointments last year, and then having a full 10 listing appointments in the month of December this year, that bodes well. I don't think it's just for our team. I think I've been talking to other agents. Anecdotally, they're describing similar increases in the number of listing appointments.
Okay, well that's good stuff.
It's still not going to satisfy the needs of all the buyers who are out there.
Sure.
But I definitely. I'm going to take I'm going to slightly change what it is that you just said. Okay. Yes, there aren't going to be enough, but I do think there are going to be more.
Okay.
I definitely think there are going to be more listings out there. Was it Money? Money Magazine or some such? USA Today, that's what it was. Mm-hmm. They had mentioned, I think an article last week, that we ranked number 3 in terms of the hottest real estate markets in the country in the year to come. And part of that is due to a slight increase in the number of properties we'll be listing.
That was it. And then also affordability was also a big piece of that.
Yeah,
Again, compared to the rest of the country, we're still in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
Despite, a 50% jump in property values in the past 3 years.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So that's kind of an expectation there. Again, would love to be wrong on that one. Would love to have just, tons and tons of listings pop up.
Yep.
But we'll have to wait and see. Mortgage interest rates, the expectation there, and again, this is what we're saying right now because this is what the indication is, that rates should continue to fall or at least be stable. Mm-hmm. Will it get to 3%? No. If it gets to 3%, something has gone crazy.
Yes. Yeah.
But we also shouldn't be back to 8%. So we're probably living in the 6s, the low 6s. Mm-hmm. If things go well, high 5s are a possibility as well.
Yeah, I definitely. We're at 6.7 right now, as you said a few minutes ago. That's down a point and a half, a little less than a point and a half over the course of the past 2 months. So that's, or the past 2.5 months. I do see mortgage interest rates continuing to go down. The Federal Reserve just actually released their notes earlier today from the last meeting of the Federal Open Markets Committee, and it looks as if there are 3 price or interest rate reductions that are forecast for the year to come.
Okay, so Jerome Powell, he's sticking to that despite what the president said the other week.
Yeah, so it's interesting. When you read the notes, it actually, yes, 3, but there are all sorts of caveats.
Leave some wiggle room.
The wiggle room is it going to happen, starting in May? Or is it all going to be toward the end of the year? And given geopolitical turmoil, given what's going on in terms of the U.S. Presidential election, we need to be cautious. So this is their best guess at this point in time. Sure. But it is the Federal Reserve, and they don't whisper under their breath in the dark of night.
Well, they know the power that they have, and literally having an interview could fluctuate things pretty dramatically.
Yeah, Jerome Powell sneezes and worldwide banks catch a cold.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Or worse.
So that's an expectation. This next one is kind of tied to mortgage interest rates, and that's more buyers entering the market. If the interest rates continue to go down, that is without a doubt going to have more people flocking back.
Well, we saw that happening
a little bit. Yeah, I mean that's why mean, it got slower, obviously, but just, not traditionally slow like normal.
Yeah, we definitely, as rates were coming down in the month of November and in December, even though these people weren't necessarily buying because there was no product for them to purchase, the phone was indeed starting to ring. And I think the same happened at the end of, not 2023, but the end of 2022. Interest rates did start to come down. And during a 3-month period of time, nationally, sales just really opened up. And then all of a sudden, boom,
Right.
the rates started to go up again, and everybody just, went into hibernation.
What's going to be interesting about 2024 is how people react to this news. Because, again, it's a different perspective now. We've been to 8%. The thought of being sad that 3% is never going to happen again is kind of gone to the wayside, and it's more so, well, now it's down from what it was.
It's ancient history.
It's a whole different perspective that people have.
Yeah.
This was interesting, too. This was really, really interesting. You had sent this email to the group about the number of people who have paid off their homes.
Right.
Right now, you're listening, just think in your head what you think that number would be.
Let me just rephrase this.
Yeah.
The number of people who own a house and have no mortgage or lien, whether it's a second mortgage, a line of credit. How many people in the United States own a house and have no debt associated with it?
40%. That's nuts.
That's insane.
So when you think about that, does that remove some of the golden handcuffs that have been a bit of an issue regarding inventory? And is that a possibility to unlock a little more for these new buyers or old buyers that are coming back to the market?
I mean, there were any number. So this is a deck that I get monthly from Apollo, which is an enormous 3 guys who were with Drexel Lambert before they went under. These guys founded Apollo, and it's very, very, very wonky. And I mean, there are 100. I don't know if you know, there are 101 slides in this deck.
Oh wow! Okay.
101. Yeah. So I try and distill it down for the team, and that one metric really, from my perspective, helps to underscore the possibility that exists in the year to come. In that people just put off for several years what it is they hope or want to do if they feel as though there's an economic uncertainty tied to or associated with the move they're going to make. But there comes a point in time where like, okay, I'm just not going to wait any longer.
Exactly, yep.
I'm going to sell my house in Rochester. I'm going to move to Florida. I'm going to sell my house in Rochester and downsize to a smaller one, whatever the case may be, but I think there's a lot of potential there.
Think about the amount of people that have been waiting to downsize, the amount of people that have been waiting. If they've had 2 more kids now, they're living in a house with 1 bathroom, and it's going to burst. They need to. Sooner or later, they're going to have to. So,
and it's probably not part of your forecast, but just as an aside, as long as we're talking about this Apollo deck,
sure.
Do you recollect one of the other slides that I sent to you, which is the average age at which somebody is now currently buying a house?
35.
38.
38.
I think it is.
That's right. Yeah.
38.
And that's up from in the 80s. It was what, mid 20s, right?
I bought my first house at the age of 25.
Yeah.
In those 13 years, that's a lot of time. That one is missing out on the opportunity to create equity. So, I realize it's not part of the forecast or the prognostication.
But interesting nonetheless.
But really an interesting statistic, yeah.
All right, so let's get back to some of the expectations here with more buyers entering the market. Good news for sellers. I know, you've had it so tough the last 3 years, sellers.
Okay, so... definitely more bidding wars.
Exactly. More buyers equals more competition equals happy sellers. I mean, that's the formula.
That's absolutely the case. Again, back to this, the esteemed financial journal known as USA Today.
Sure.
Yes, they're forecasting a 10.4% increase in property values for the coming year. That's again. You add that on top of the 50+% that we've already enjoyed over the course of the past few years. That's insane.
And that was my next expectation. Home prices will continue to increase.
Well, there we go.
For those that have been sitting on the sidelines and praying, they're going to come down. Unlikely.
And we'll say what it is we've been saying, like, continually for the past few years. Don't put off this is not stop. I mean, yes, it's going to stop eventually. But at what point in time will it stop? I see property values increasing for the next 3-4 years. So,
And this next one ties in with the last one. Rent will also continue to increase. Says Mark, who owns a couple of units, a couple of rental units.
that I'm reading. I don't know where you're getting that from. I'm reading conflicting reports.
Okay, interesting.
So I'm not going to talk about the national. I'm only going to talk about what it is that I'm feeling locally.
Sure.
If you have a terrible property in bad condition in a bad neighborhood, you're not going to see an increase.
Sure.
If you're in a good neighborhood and the property is in good condition, you're definitely going to see an increase. Again, no two ways about it.
Well, again, think about it. There's so many people that can't or haven't been able to buy a house
Right.
who normally would have, who are in stages of life where you would typically want to be in a house that are still renting. So if you're going to rent, you at least want to rent somewhere nice.
Well, yeah, the mindset is, okay, so if I was going to rent, I was going to rent $1,000 for $1,000 a month. But no, I really, really, really want to buy because I want a lot more space. I want a lot nicer amenities, et cetera, et cetera. You spend 6 months trying to buy a house. You realize that you can't. What are you going to do? Most people are not going to go back to the $1,000 per month. They're going to try to enjoy the enhanced lifestyle they're hoping to buy as a result of purchasing a new home.
Absolutely.
So I will just share personally. This past year, 2023. We increased our rents in excess of 10% across the board. For the year before that, in excess of 14%.
Wow.
Again, those are
big numbers.
Those are big numbers. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, next expectation. With all that we've said thus far,
Yeah.
I'm curious if you agree or disagree. This still will not be a repeat of 2021, 2022. I don't foresee it getting to that level.
Meaning
The frenzy.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
You throw the sign on the front lawn,
yeah.
and you now have 30 offers.
You throw the sign on the front lawn, you're not going to see 30 offers. You're going to see 8.
Which is still good.
Yeah, I was going to say, not bad. I mean,
And quite honestly, you didn't really need 30 offers to begin with.
Yeah.
There was 2 or 3 that were really going head to head.
Yeah. That's exactly the case.
So I think it's going to be a better environment, again, for sellers. Not that 2023 wasn't, but it wasn't to the level of 2021, 2022. I foresee 2024 being somewhere in the middle there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's also going to be a great. Again, I realize that we're dissecting shades of gray, but not only is it going to be a good opportunity for sellers because there's going to be property value increase, but I think it's also going to be a good opportunity for buyers because interest rates are coming down. There's going to be more product for them to choose. Yeah.
Well, and the buying power they'll have as well. What's happening in 2024 is the opposite of what happened last year, where let's just say someone started their journey in 2021. And you were at a 3% interest rate, and you were looking at, I can afford X.
Yep.
And then rates, you didn't get an offer accepted, you kept losing out, whatever. Now they're at 8%. You are at a fraction of what you could have afforded.
That's right.
So you went to the sidelines. Now, again, you're looking at that 8%. Well, we could afford that then, but now we can afford this. And again, it's that just twist in that mindset that I think is going to have a lot of people want to jump back in.
Again, one of the decks that I did not, one of the slides that I did not send to you from that deck the other day, I don't think I sent this to you, that monthly mortgage payments for somebody who was thinking of buying 3 years ago versus today, they've doubled.
Yep.
They've doubled due to the fact that mortgage rates have increased so significantly and property values have so significantly increased. Doubled.
Yeah, the people who back then thought, I don't want to get involved in these bidding wars. I'm going to have to overpay are really kicking themselves.
Yeah, and we've said it over and over again, and we continue to say it. If property value, if you were afraid of overpaying by $25,000 or $50,000 3 years ago, and property values have gone up as significantly as were you overpaying 3 years ago? Clearly, the answer is no.
Yeah.
Not at all.
You missed out on a bunch of equity.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right, this one you've kind of alluded to it, and you mentioned the article that kind of backs it. But really, also, I think we back it when we say it. Rochester will remain a very hot real estate market. You said number 3 on this list from USA Today of the 10 best real estate markets for 2024. Toledo, Ohio was number 1.
Toledo, yeah.
Interesting. And then a bunch, California represented in the top 5.
Yeah, the list seemed to be comprised primarily of cities in the Northeast, and cities in California, I believe.
Yeah, top 5: Toledo, Oxnard, California, Rochester, New York, San Diego, California, and Riverside, California.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
All right. This isn't an expectation, but this is the thing to keep an eye on. And that's the X factors of what could take everything we've just talked about and completely undo it with this chaos.
Oh, well, okay.
And there's a lot going on.
Yeah, all right, go ahead.
Inflation staying in check. That's going to be a big one. Right now, things look good. The Fed is saying they're going to reduce rates. But if inflation starts skyrocketing, there could be a reversal of that.
Yeah, I'm not. Save for, I'm sure, one of your next bullets, geopolitical turmoil.
That's there.
Yeah, I'm not particularly concerned. I mean, I think that I think that supply chain economics and the entanglements of supply chain, those have been resolved. So that's really great. There are a lot of things that are causing the interest rate increase that have been imposed by the Federal Reserve. Those have really taken a hold and had an impact and an effect. So. Next week's CPI will be very, very enlightening, informative. I'm not particularly worried about that, save for, say, geopolitical turmoil. Because, if you think about, and is that on your list?
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, I mean, we have the U.S. presidential election. We have
that was the other one, yeah.
Ukraine and Russia. We have Israel and Palestine. Yes. And then who knows what else is going to pop up? What other surprises 2024 has for us?
Well, I mean, one of the big ones right now is just in the past few days. Maersk, one of the big shipping conglomerates in the world, they are no longer sending their ships into the Red Sea. That's huge, and this has to do with the Houthis, who are based out of Yemen. They're supported by Iraq, and is it Iraq? Iran, and they are now they're no longer sending their ships in there because they were under attack, and it took U.S. forces to gun down and kill 10 Houthi militants just a few days ago. So that's not even on your list. So that's playing out.
Yep.
Then you've got, as you said, everything that's playing out in Israel and Gaza. You've got Russia and Ukraine. What am I missing?
The presidential election.
But in terms of geopolitical conflict and war, I think I named the bulk of the majority.
Yeah.
Of them. So that could definitely send things out of control, spiraling out of control.
And specifically with the presidential election, outside forces trying to meddle with it as well.
Yes. So. And that's already starting to happen, especially
it always does.
Yeah. You throw in there then deep fakes and how much easier it is to create fake news as a result of AI. But I gotta be honest, I'm a little concerned about what's going to play out, and not only am I concerned, deeply concerned, but also I'm not ready.
Yeah.
I'm just
for the circus.
I got to protect my inner peace. I'm not even reading the articles any longer. So
got other stuff to focus on.
That's exactly right. Because if I start my day reading the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Washington Post,
puts a bad mood.
I'm just not. Yeah, it's just going to ruin the whole day. So what else on your list, bud?
Any other X factors you can think of? I mean, we kind of touched on it. What the Fed does, how many times they lower the key interest rate. That's going to be big.
No. Actually, I just wrote separate and apart from the conversation we're having. I wrote my blog the other day. You haven't read it yet. These are exactly the things that I'm talking about.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Look at that.
Look at that.
Anything else? Any other expectations or headlines of expectations for 2024?
No. I mean, in the macro, no. I mean, personally, I think there were some big things that are going to be going on with us. This is a good time for us to jump
We're transitioning into the big announcement.
Okay, here we
Finally.
go. All right.
It's the best kept secret in Rochester.
Yeah, you're right. Everybody seems to know already because we did need to keep it quiet and under wraps publicly for the past few months. But we have opened, as of just a couple of days ago, our own real estate brokerage. It's Elysian Homes by Mark Siwiec and Associates. And it's not going to be your typical brokerage. It's going to be pretty small. It's basically the team that we have right now. We've added one agent, Erin Canaroso, who is just a great agent, sweet woman. We really love. She's very, very much one of us. And we're going to keep it. So instead of it being a traditional brokerage, we're going to create what is known in the industry as a super team. And we sold $92 million this past year. All forecasts show that we'll be selling upwards of $110 million. I mean, I would be shocked if we didn't sell $110 million in the year to come.
That's the goal. And thank you to so many of the team members who we called out at the meeting today for not listening to the podcast. So they should be listening right now to get their thank you. That put so much hard work into making this happen.
Yeah.
Because it really is, it's a really exciting time, and the team that's in place, it just feels like we really are ready to just, literally take off.
Yeah. One of the things, and I do become emotional in some of these meetings because I'm so proud of what it is that our team accomplishes. But I had to hold back, shedding a few tears because I'm so proud of everybody. They're executing at a level that is probably inconceivable for most people to imagine. And frankly and honestly, I think it's inconceivable for some of the members of the team who don't like change.
Sure.
I'm very proud of them. They can look back and look at what it is they've done in the past 12 months. It's unreal. It's unbelievable.
And congratulations to you, because you're a person with audacious goals. You always think big, and I'm sure this was something that you dreamt of 30 years ago, and now it's coming to fruition.
Actually, I got to be honest.
Really?
I mean, I do dream very, very big, but I personally just wanted to continue to grow our numbers and grow the numbers and grow the numbers. And we've done that. But it got to the point where the numbers became so large that it no longer made sense for us to be associated with any other brokerage.
Sure.
Now, that being said, hats off to Chuck Hilbert over at Keller Williams, who is our broker for the past 5 or 6 years. Probably the best brokerage experience that I've had. Chuck is a kind individual, a man of great integrity who has done a great job of growing his business enormously. And we had a really, really good ride with KW and Chuck. So I just want to say publicly thank you to Chuck for having hosted us and been a good friend over the course of these past few years. Now, that being said, again, with great deference and with great love for Chuck and the work that he's done, the numbers just didn't make any sense. I mean, we've got a social media coordinator, a marketing coordinator, and a finance manager, and we got a COO. It just goes on and on and on.
It was just the next step.
It was the next step. Thank you.
Natural next step for sure.
Yeah.
But again, very exciting times. I'm psyched that we were able to hit the mark and launch it in the new year. It all feels like it's coming together.
It really is. So thank you very, very much, bud. Thanks for bringing it up.
Anything else you want to touch on?
I'm not going to be here next week.
Yeah, I'm not going to be here next week for a bit either.
Oh my God, you're not. That's right. So you leave tomorrow morning for
Turks and Caicos. We'll be getting on a plane that takes off at 6 a.m.
Wow.
With my 4 and 2-year-old and what's the number up to? 17 other family members.
17.
Pray for us.
Oh my God.
Pray for us. It's going to be fantastic. Really excited about it. I'm back next Thursday, so I'll touch base with Ed.
Okay, good.
We'll do an episode. I'm shooting for Friday.
I mean, tell Lauren and Mike, if I wasn't going to the Galapagos, I'd just be like mysteriously,
Showed up.
Yeah, just show up,
You
like
wanna
knock on the
pop
door.
over.
Yeah, like inevitably there's probably an extra room.
Yeah, you probably could
Or
find some
2
space.
or 3, yeah.
And then you're going to the Galapagos.
I'm going to the Galapagos, yeah. So second time I've been there.
This is rare. This is rare.
Well, and it's you're right. We never go to the same place twice, but the Galapagos is comprised of 16 islands. You see 8 of them by traveling clockwise. And then if you want, you can go back and see 8 other islands by going counterclockwise.
Okay. So it's new. It's still new.
Well, and what's really interesting about the Galapagos is that like one island is all about black lizards.
Oh,
and then
interesting.
another island is all about like the blue-footed booby. And then you go to another island, and every island that you go to, it's completely different. It's inhabited by different flora and fauna. So yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that.
Well, enjoy that.
Enjoy your time in TNC.
Yes, I will. I will need a vacation after my vacation.
You want some Benadryl, or you want some? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. For me or for the children?
The children, yeah. Primarily. So you can have a cocktail at least, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll put a podcast out next week. Ed and I, and then Mark will be back the following week, and we'll continue rolling here into 2024. Thank you so much for listening. Talk to you again soon.
Yeah. Happy New Year, everybody. And Corey, before you send us.
Oh, sure.
Thank you. Thanks for being a member of the team. Thanks for being a good friend. And thanks for making these podcasts so easy. I just sit down and I just talk. You've done all those, so thank you so much for everything, bud. Love having you around.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.